Folks, I'm about to tell you something you might not be ready to hear. And I understand that. You've been taught up is up and down is down for so long that saying anything else is crazy. But what I'm about to tell you is the quarterback evaluation equivalent of the world's not flat. I've been doing my thing in scouting for 22 years, and I learned how to evaluate quarterbacks the exact same way you did. I listened and watched and researched everybody who was in the know. But here's the problem. Everything we were taught on how to evaluate quarterbacks coincided with the requirements of the West Coast offense. And if you look around the league, we are a long, long way away from the core of the West Coast offense. Because of that, the game has changed. And in that change, the template for what we're supposed to look for has completely broken. It started in 2011 for me with Cam Newton. I was wrong on Cam Newton because everything I taught said Cam Newton doesn't have the requirements that a quarterback is supposed to have. And when I got that wrong, it ticked me off. I went back and watched Cam over and over, and it wasn't that Cam was succeeding, it was Cam was succeeding as a quarterback. He was supposed to succeed as a runner. He was supposed to succeed like Vic. But he succeeded as a quarterback, and that ticked me off. So I went back and watched everything I possibly could on Cam, and I realized that it really comes down to two factors. What space you can attack and how efficiently you can attack that space. That's it. That's what the whole quarterback position distills down to. So with Cam, I started a labor of love. I started tearing up the template and putting all the pieces back together to try and figure out how they actually fit in this changing landscape of the NFL. And it didn't happen overnight. It took some work. And then 2013 happened because Russell Wilson, who I had loved, who I had watched at North Carolina State and been a huge fan of Hot Rod, and all the same preconceptions kind of leaned away from Russell Wilson, even after he went to play in Wisconsin and learned something that's much more of a pro-style offense. It still leaned away from Russell Wilson. And then by halfway through his second year, that was the nail in the coffin. Clearly, something had changed because Russell Wilson was phenomenal, and this template was garbage. And it should have been a dog whistle to everybody in the scouting world. Everybody should have understood that these things are breaking, these things are changing because of these two examples, and it just didn't happen. I don't know why, but it didn't. And they're slowly catching up more and more year after year, but we started this work in 2013. They're catching up now. So a rebuild of what we looked at for quarterbacks started in 2011. It was getting there in 2013, but we had it by 2016 when we said Dak Prescott was the third best quarterback in the draft and would be a starter. Did they? Fourth round? Nobody called him a starter. We had him as a starter from the start. But then 2017 happened, and that was endgame. Patrick Mahomes. And our evaluation system said wild things about Patrick Mahomes. Things we said before the draft. Number one player in the draft, bar none. Should go first. Generational quarterback. The best quarterback that we've seen in one of our evaluation metrics ever. The old GOAT was Aaron Rodgers. Mahomes was on pace or expected to destroy that. And the people who didn't adapt as of 2017, they were dinosaurs. They were stuck in the tar pit, sinking, because they hadn't changed with the times. They didn't know what they were looking at. So if you thought Patrick Mahomes was erratic, you might be a dinosaur. If you talked about Lamar and his wide receiver capabilities, you might be a dinosaur. And if you talked about how small Kyler Murray was and how he has a full wind-up on his throwing motion, you're a dinosaur. Sorry. And what you saw after those success stories, as they started billowing on top of each other, is draft boards in disarray. New buzzwords were flying out of mouths in high repeat. People didn't understand what was going on. You saw experts like Chris Sims talking about Ryan Finley as a first-round pick. You saw Mel and McShay leaving Haskins at the top of their board for a whole season. And you saw Brooks and Jeremiah have this debate on air about who they would take first, Rosen or Darnold, because in the right circumstances, Rosen could be better than Darnold. They were both advocating for Rosen. They had written articles explaining this. They talked about it on air, and then they got feedback from general managers, and 5 out of 5 said no. In a quick recap, our system said Rosen would bust. Our system had Haskins in the 3rd round and said it's a Hail Mary at best. And our system said you don't draft Ryan Finley at all. And I'll be honest with you. In the years since the change in the way that we evaluated quarterbacks, we've been surprised by what has come out of our evaluations. How much they skew away from the gurus in the industry, the talking heads on ESPN. But at the same time, we've seen how Ozzie Newsome saw what we saw. And Jordan Palmer advocates for something we're going to say. And how Andy Reid flew up the board for somebody he saw as special. Those are pretty good experts too. And the results that come out of these evaluations, sometimes they catch us by surprise. Like this year with Trevor Lawrence. Stay with us. In the next few videos, we're going to break down every aspect we evaluate for NFL quarterbacks. We're going to talk about what traits help quarterbacks succeed, what groupings of traits bring the best impact, and what limitations those traits can put on a quarterback's capabilities at the NFL level. Basically, not only does this evaluate quarterbacks, but it says the way you need to use them or defend them to take them off of what they do best. That's the limitations a quarterback has on them in translating to the NFL level. But our next video is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to go into every buzzword we can possibly think of that we completely disregard in the draft process. You're going to hear them ad nauseum all season, all draft season. The talking heads love these words because they say something, they fill space, but they're completely empty, hollow, and meaningless. There are not intangibles that make the massive difference on if a quarterback succeeds or if they don't. There are actual tangibles that you can quantify and define by watching film. And those tangibles, they describe and show you everything you're going to see on Sunday. There is a way to decode every piece of it. There is a system that fits almost every quarterback. We are in a golden age of quarterbacks right now because the talent coming out of college is fantastic. And the systems at the disposal of offensive coordinators allow for a number of different types to succeed. So if you just stick to the West Coast offense template, you're going to miss a number of quarterbacks who can succeed in ways that we have not seen prior to this. With air raid, the RPO game, all the running options that they're bringing into the league, the bunch stacks, the ISO ones, all these different concepts are helping quarterbacks succeed. So you need to know what actually matters for a quarterback to succeed. We help you decode it all. Make sure you go down below, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell. You don't want to miss this series. We're going to be bringing it out over the next couple of days. Right now, the talk about quarterback prospects is at an all-time high. It's just a ton of hype being thrown around and nobody has really dug into these prospects. You're going to hear a lot of things in the next couple weeks that are going to vanish by combine time. Let us get you on the right track early in the process. Let us get you these tools so that you can open your eyes and see quarterbacks the way that they actually should be evaluated in this current NFL climate. And if you're a young scout, I've done this for 22 years. All these videos are just going to be a lot of work that has been put down in front of you that you can build off of. We started adapting the way we looked at things in 2011. It's 2020 and we are still evolving as things go on. There are traits that continue to gain value. There are other traits that continue to be diminished because of how the schemes can hide them and do away with the limitations that they present to a degree. But this is meant to bring you ahead of the curve. This is meant to get the ideas in front of you and get you to a point where you can continue to look at things from this angle and see it clearer and clearer and clearer as time goes on. I love you guys. We need you. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.